Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode stock of Daredevil Born Again. We're gonna be doing episode 3 and 4 on today's episode. So, let's start off with episode 3, which I will say I was terrified of. Entirely because of the fact that the MCU has not handled courtroom scenes with any sort of respect at all, She-Hulk. Like, that is literally what made me scared of this episode. Like, when the last episode ended, I was like, oh no, next week might not be good, because courtroom scenes in the MCU haven't necessarily been good, but I can guarantee you that this one is. So, let's get into the episode. So, it starts off with Matt and Hector sitting next to each other, and Hector tells the story of his home and a cookie frog, which I think is the funniest name ever. He even imitates the sound. We'll get back to that later on. But it was a nice story about his hometown. Meanwhile, at night, there is a robbery at Red Hook, which Vanessa's like, look, Fisk, the kids are fighting. And Fisk is like, let them kill each other. I don't care. It is kind of funny because the parents are gone, so the children are misbehaving. Because that's basically what Vanessa says. Vanessa's like, without you or me at the helm, the families are running amok. So in my head, I'm like, the kids are misbehaving. So at the courtroom, Matt is washing his hands from the fight that happened in the last episode. Which, by the way, why was the song at the end of that episode that song? It was so abrupt, the way that the last episode ended. It's just like, why did it end with Get Free? It's like Matt's just beating up some people, letting the devil of Hell's Kitchen out again. And then he screams, and then we get like, get free! It was funny, abrupt, I don't really care, but it's just so weird. But then, a cop appears inside of the restroom, and immediately targets Matt. Matt's like, where are you? Who are you? And it's like, oh wait, you're the guy that I beat up. So then the cop threatens Matt with obstruction of justice. Meanwhile, Matt's like, yeah, what about your witness stuff, huh? That wasn't cool either. Also, we have Cherry, who is taking care of Nikki, and they need to get him to the courtroom, which I will immediately talk about right now, because later on the cops are like, Nikki cannot come here. Yes, we need to get him here in one piece. So how are we gonna do it? Well, Cherry gets into a truck, and he drives over towards the courthouse. And he gets stopped by cops. Turns out, Nikki ain't in the back. They took a taxi instead. Brilliant way to do a decoy. So we get the actual trial started with the first person called to the stage, which is the corrupt cop, who immediately starts to lie about everything that went down, so that's fun. But then it's Matt's turn to question him, and Matt's like, I heard you got a black eye. You know what they say about black eyes in the world of boxing? They say you should have some fast hands, which is like, Matt, I love Matt. I love Matt Murdock in the courtroom, dude. His sassiness in the courtroom is peak. I love that stuff. Immediately, I knew we were in safe hands with the courtroom stuff. However, Matt kind of picks apart the story that the corrupt cop said, because he was like, we were on patrol. We went down to the subway. No one was there. And Matt's like, no one was there. That's a bit strange. I mean, no one playing music. No people waiting for the train. Like, really? That's really suspicious. Very suspicious. But he can't really push further. So then they have to wait for the second person to be called to the stage, because Nikki isn't here yet. But Nikki arrives late, but still in time. So Nikki gets on stage and lies. He lies about everything, which completely blows, like, Matt's case out the water, because now he has nothing. Also, we have someone from Fisk goes to the children in order to have them stop fighting, and then one child rebels again and is like, oh yeah, if Fisk wants to say something, he can come down here and say it himself. But that didn't really work out. So now we need a new way in order to win. So Hector gets called to the stage, and Matt is like, okay, so what were you doing there? And Hector basically says that he bought a building, and it was supposed to be a surprise for his wife. And then he heard screaming from the subway, went down there in order to help. And Matt is kind of leading, in a way, Hector along, so that Matt can make his grand reveal, which I never expected. He pulls out of the back the White Tiger mask. He's like, is it true that you are White Tiger? And it's like, I never saw that coming. I was at my mom's place when I watched this episode. I was shocked. Shocked, I tell you. I was super shocked. I was like, what? Did he just pull out the White Tiger mask in the middle of the courtroom? When he explicitly asked the judge to ignore the White Tiger fact. Which, yeah, that immediately calls for like a break And the judge isn't really happy about that stuff because Matt was like, that's not. And then he does it himself. That's not cool. Also, Hector is like, look, man, that wasn't your secret to tell. And Matt's like, well, one thing's for sure. If we win this, you're never gonna be able to be White Tiger again. Simple as that. And Hector's like, yeah, that's not gonna be a possibility. You don't understand. White Tiger isn't just a costume, okay? It's who I am. Simple as that. It's destiny. Which, I love the way that this also then speaks about Matt, who has given up on being Daredevil. I really like that. But then, Matt kind of fights back with the fact that he's like, well, to be honest, once you've given up the White Tiger, you'll never miss him again. As in, Matt doesn't miss Daredevil, but he does. We all know he does. But now that the White Tiger secret is out, we get a bunch of people on the stand who basically are like, yeah, White Tiger saved me. Matt's team even pulls out like witness statements from the police themselves who were helped by White Tiger. So we're on an upward stick here. And then Hector once again gets called to the stand. And basically, Matt's like, why did you do it? And Hector's like, because it's the right thing to do about everything. Why do you help this person, that person, this person, that person? Because it's the right thing to do. I love this actor. I am so sad that he passed away. Because, to be honest, Marvel, if you wanted to make a show about White Tiger, I would have approved it 100% with this actor. I would have rather had that than like Echo or Agatha, which actually is a show that I enjoyed, but I would have rather had a White Tiger show than an Agatha show, let's be honest there. Or any of the other, like, useless shows that Marvel has made. This one could have actually been interesting, but sadly enough, the actor passed away, so we can't even get, like, a prequel series because of the fact that, you know, what happens at the end of the episode, we'll get there when we get there. But basically, because of this, the closing statement kind of gets a bit muddied on the opposition side, on the dirty cop side, because it's like, look, we all do good things sometimes, but that doesn't exempt us from doing bad things. But that doesn't work because of the fact that we've won. Because afterwards, it is officially stated that Hector is free of all charges. Not guilty, not guilty, not guilty. It's Johnny Depp all over again. But Fisk isn't really happy about this, and he calls BB over. And then he makes a statement about the fact that vigilantes are just, you know, awful. He doesn't like vigilantes, simple as that. I can understand why with Daredevil and also, I don't know if you really want to count Punisher, but Kate Bishop, you know, kind of vigilantes getting in his way. I understand why. But then after that, we have the fact that Hector once again puts on the White Tiger outfit because he just can't stop. He goes outside, he hears a woman screaming, he tries to go over there, but then he gets shot in the head, and it's revealed that the person who shot him is the Punisher. Frank, how could you? But it's not him. He might have the skull logo on his chest, but there's no way Frank Castle would do something like that, okay? We all love Frank Castle, alright? We know Frank Castle. He doesn't kill the innocent. That is the one thing he doesn't do, even though Billy tried to make Frank think that he killed innocent people. He did not, in fact, kill innocent people. It's not something that he does. It's another one of those corrupt cops who killed White Tiger. And that's one way to end an episode. Like, also, at the time of recording this, episode 4 isn't out yet. But man, what a way to end the episode with the fact that Hector just gets killed, which I didn't expect at all. I would have loved to see, like, a team up between Daredevil and White Tiger, but that's not gonna happen. But the fact that it's like, then like a Punisher vest as well, it's such a cool way to end the episode, and it really gets me excited about the next episode, because it could mean that in the next episode, we have Frank Castle. I don't know if we will. I really want to see the next episode. I'm so excited. I hate this release schedule that they're doing. I really hate the release schedule, because I just want to see Frank on screen again. But overall, I really enjoyed this episode. The courtroom scene, it's once again just a continuation of the Netflix stuff. I love this so much, and I can't wait to see what else they do in this show. Look, I know that there are haters out there. I mean, Marvel has burned a lot of, like, goodwill. I will say that. But, like, this show is fantastic, and immediately, right now, as of right now, this is the best thing Marvel has put on Disney Plus. And the only thing that they've put on Disney Plus which would have high recommendation from me. I very much enjoyed this episode because She-Hulk kind of burned me, but this brought the goodwill back that Marvel can't do. Courtroom scenes, so great. And the way that after Hector gets shot, we hear the cookie frogs making sounds as the credits roll. absolutely beautiful. But that's not all, so let us head straight into the 4th episode. So let's get into that 4th episode of Daredevil Born Again. So in this episode, Matt gets called to the coroner's office because of the fact that, well, sadly enough, White Tiger has passed away because of the gunshot from the last episode. So Matt tries to figure out what happened, but it seems like the dude who works there just doesn't really care. He's like, well, to be honest, they didn't find a bullet casing, and I don't really care. But then Hector's niece walks in, and she initially kind of blames Matt because it's like, well, you got him out. A lot of good that did him. Which is like, don't you blame Matt. But she wants to see her uncle, and Matt's like, that's not gonna happen, come with me. And then she's like, alright, look, man, it's like, it's just so unfair, okay? I mean, Hector is just gonna be remembered as someone from, like, the Heights. Meanwhile, the cops are gonna be, like, propped up, and it's like, look, Hector was White Tiger, okay? He was more important than just some guy from the Heights. Also, we see Muse take a guy into the subway area, I guess. And also, this niece person in the comic books eventually becomes the next White Tiger. So maybe they're setting something up, maybe not. Let's just hope she doesn't get her own Disney Plus show before she can actually prove herself. We've seen what happened with those. Marvel, don't do it again, okay? We already had Echo. We're gonna get, like, Ironheart. Nobody wants those things. Maybe she could work in, like, a Young Avengers kind of thing. I was about to say Young Justice, but that was the wrong franchise. Meanwhile, Daniel is at the club, and he spills some stuff towards BB about Fisk's plan that will come back to bite later on. But we'll get there later on, but it has been mentioned. Also, a homeless man gets arrested for stealing cereal, and Kirsten gives Matt a case about that homeless guy. So that's gonna be fun for Matt. Meanwhile, in therapy with Fisk and Mrs. Fisk, Mayor and Mrs. Fisk, we get to finally talk about Adam. And first of all, what drew Vanessa towards Adam was his hands, which I was like, it's TMI, but no, she means painting-wise. And also, the reason that she did it is because of the fact that, well, Fisk left, and she did not know if Fisk would return. And then she thought about her mother, who, when her dad either passed away or left, I forgot which one it was, but either one of those two, her mom was completely broken, and she did not want to be that. And apparently, when a woman thinks about empowerment, it's always using her body. It's a weird thing, but yeah, she cheated, and I'm like, that's still not an okay reason to cheat, okay? No matter what, like, give it some time and then maybe, you know? But it also doesn't really seem like you really tried to put effort into getting Fisk back. Fisk just left, which makes him a prick, but we already knew that. We've seen the Netflix show. But it's like you also, it doesn't really seem like you tried to get him back. But whatever, cheating happened. However, Fisk promises that he did not kill Adam. He had a talk with him, a dialogue, and that's it. But that's not it. But we'll get there later on. So Matt goes to his case, which is of a Leroy Bradford guy. And apparently, he has a bit of a rap sheet. Not like serious crimes or anything, I don't think, but he has a rap sheet. And basically, they're all looking at like 30 days in jail. He doesn't want that. He wants probation. Matt is sick of this guy because he doesn't even show remorse. Like, the dialogue that they use, like, he says, I didn't do it. And then Matt's like, well, there's evidence, video evidence. The guy at the counter saw you do it. So, yeah. And then he's like, maybe it was a scroll, and I'm like, how dare you reference Marvel's worst project? The worst thing the MCU has ever released, and everyone might be thinking She-Hulk, but that's wrong. It's Secret Invasion. They are specifically referencing Secret Invasion here, because that is when the scrolls kind of became a bit more public knowledge. But don't you reference scrolls, okay? Don't do that. That project was awful. But no, it wasn't a scroll. Also, the dude's entirely disrespectful. He's like, I get the blind one. It's like, what are you? You get the best lawyer around, and you are complaining about that. I don't like this guy. But he also doesn't show any remorse, and he keeps hammering on about the fact that, you know, he wants probation, but he's not gonna get that. Matt even gets his sentence down from 30 to 10 days, which is a miracle, and he still won't take it. And he's like, look, man, I used to have food stamps after I had, like, after I did my criminal thing, and then I missed an appointment, and then they took that away, and it's like, and I'm just like, then you shouldn't have missed your appointment. In no way do you make it clear that missing the appointment was your fault. So I don't care if you missed your appointment. That is on you. And then you have consequences, okay? You should have just made the appointment. Simple as that. And that's basically it. We don't really get any resolution to that plotline, sadly enough. And also, while there, Matt confronts the dirty cop from before. Powell was his name. about killing White Tiger. And he's like, I didn't do it. And Matt listens to his heart, and turns out he is correct. So we are not one step closer. So out of this whole like Bradford stuff that I personally didn't really care about, at least we got this scene where it's like, okay, you know what? I like that scene. I also like Matt playing his way in order to get that sentence down. It's just like, it shows off how good of a lawyer Matt is, even though Bradford is just a prick. Matt is so good, and I just love seeing him work. I just wish he had a better case, that's all. Meanwhile, Fisk is at Red Hook with his team, and he talks about how he wants to rebuild the port in order to make Red Hook great again. The problem is, his assistant, I guess, or I don't know. I don't know what that woman is, but let me see here. Sheila points out that there are some rules that we have to follow, you know, bureaucracy and all that kind of stuff. And this really makes Fisk angry, because Fisk is used to the fact, like, okay, if I say something, it gets done. But now he has to deal with the red tape and all that stuff. And I just love to see him get angry about the fact that he has to, like, wait. And I can understand that feeling, because I'm also the kind of person who would like to get stuff done. But then, you know, it's like, you have to wait. It's like, why? Just get it done. But I love seeing that angry. And then later on, he goes to a school performance, a choir performance. However, then Blake finds in the BB report about Fisk's plan that he is being called a union buster, or whatever it's called. So then Sheila's like, don't worry, I'll take care of it. You just be silent about this. However, later on, she tells Fisk about this, but she doesn't say that it was Daniel who was the problem. But Fisk is immediately like, call everyone. I will find out who did this. And he basically berates everyone until Daniel's like, sorry, boss, it was me. So Fisk is like, everyone out. And then Sheila's like, I'll stay here as well. It was also partially my fault. It's like, all right, fine. You can go down with that ship. And then Daniel just goes off, basically kissing Fisk's feet. And Fisk is like, mistakes were made. And I'm like, really? It was that easy? It was that easy to just get forgiven for almost ruining the whole mayor stuff that Fisk wants and his entire plan. I just thought that was funny, how easily he got out of it. But also Fisk recognizes the loyalty that Daniel has for him. And also the courage for stepping forward and admitting to his mistake instead of hiding like a coward. So he forgives Daniel. But don't let it happen again, because otherwise you will be meeting my friend Cardor. I did it to the Russians, I could do it to you as well. So at night, Matt decides to do a little bit of investigating of his own about how White Tiger died, and maybe he will be able to find the bullet casing. So Matt stands where White Tiger was shot, and he doesn't really notice anything until someone knocks away a coin on accident, just like kicks a coin away, and Matt's like, that's what could happen. So he finds a small bottle and he knocks it over, and the bottle rolls away and he finds the bullet casing. And I'm like, that is so perfect. I love seeing Matt do his thing. I love it. However, Matt notices something about that bullet casing, and he decides to investigate further. I also loved how the sound changes when Matt finds the bullet casing and he feels and he notices something, and then the music, like the sound just starts to change immediately when he notices the important part. But after that, Matt goes to this abandoned area, gets into this building, goes down the elevator, and he finds some kind of a secret lair, and he's like, hello? And who gets it? Does he get attacked by? But Punisher! Frank Castle! Yes, he's in this episode. Fantastic. And Matt wants to know if Frank knows anything about the, Punisher logo. He's like, well, it's not mine. It's just a bunch of fanboys. What do you do about it, huh? However, the tone kind of starts to change a bit because of the fact that Matt is like, with all your skills, you could be of service. And Frank is like, look, I was of service. I served in the military. You put up on a Halloween costume. And he still calls him Red, which I love. He's like, you put on a Halloween costume, Red. I actually served in the military. Don't you talk to me about service, okay? You never served. So you have no right to talk about that. And then from there, it spirals into a therapy session about Foggy. Because Frank realizes, look, man, you are so guilty. You feel so much guilt. I know that because I feel it all the time. And he wants permission from Punisher to be Daredevil again, in a way. But Matt tries to deny it, but it doesn't work. And then Frank tries to get Matt to say the name Foggy. He even calls the one dude Bullseye. He's like, look, Bullseye got life. What did Foggy get, huh? But he's like, say his name, say his name. Matt can't do it. And eventually he punches Frank in the face. He says sorry. Frank's like, what are you saying sorry for? Come on, man. Be a man. But eventually he gets Foggy out of Matt. Matt actually says the name Foggy, which I think might actually be the first time he said it since basically Foggy died. So we have a little bit of a therapy session with the Punisher, and then Matt leaves. To anyone who's like, "Aw, don't worry, we'll see more of him." We've seen behind-the-scene pictures of Matt and Punisher, or Daredevil and Punisher, teaming up together. So we'll get more of him. But this scene, just like the scene in Season 2 on that rooftop, is absolutely brilliant. I love their interactions. Look, this episode wasn't really that good, in a way. It was a good episode, but it was the worst one so far, in my opinion, up to this point. But now we're getting to the interesting stuff. Frank and Matt interacting with each other is just absolutely perfect. But we'll see Punisher later on. Don't you worry about that one. I also like how the interaction starts where Matt's like, "Hey Frank, how you doing?" And Frank is like, "Peachy." Also, to anyone who's like, okay, how did Matt find Frank? There are multiple things that could be it, okay? Number one, he used his senses to find Frank, which could be the truth, but who knows? But the other one that I've seen online is people say that Matt has been keeping tabs on Frank, and that's how he learned where he was. But in the interaction between Frank and Matt is always peak. Also on the whiteboard behind him, it does seem like Frank has been very busy taking out some targets. Maybe that stuff will lead into his special presentation that he is going to get, according to John Bernthal, which I am super excited about. And then to end the episode, we have some true natures coming back into action. Yes, indeed. Because even though Fisk tries to be the good guy, he has changed. He hasn't changed at all. Because turns out, this man has locked Adam up. And by the way, the wounds that we saw earlier were probably from beating up Adam. But he has locked Adam up. And he's just eating and drinking wine while Adam is in a cage. It's just such a, classic Fisk move. And also, Matt's true nature is coming out as well, because at night Matt sneaks away. He goes up high and we get to see a bunch of masks from Daredevil. He grabs the Daredevil weapon and starts training with it, as in the return of Daredevil's coming back. And then to fully end the episode, we have Muse, who took a guy to, I guess, his secret lair and is training him, which, okay, I don't know who Muse is. Apparently he's a newer villain. I don't really know anything about him, but I'm interested to see what's gonna happen. And that is the end of the episode. And I will say this is very much a mixed bag for me. Because on one hand, it is the weakest episode that we've had so far. And on the other hand, it's the best thing we've ever had. But that's also basically the halves. The first half of the episode, there are some interesting stuff. But the whole, the client that Matt has, I could not care less about. But then in the back half, we have Punisher and Matt and Fisk getting their true natures back. And that's fantastic. And I love it. And also, I just went online to Twitter and I saw a bunch of people hating on the Punisher Netflix show. So that does not make me happy, because I very much enjoyed it. Yes, there are some problems with it. I'll get to it when I get to that show, which is gonna take a while. Because also, little bit of an announcement. Number one, all of these episode talks are eventually gonna be edited into one giant video, and it's gonna be the spoiler talk for Daredevil Born Again with some new in-between bits where it's episode 5 and that kind of stuff. And also, my review of Daredevil season 1 from the Netflix show will be coming out in May as well, so that's exciting. But the back half is just so good, and the first half is very mixed for me with the quality. It's a bit of a mixed bag. But man, that talk between Punisher, even Punisher opening up that he still hears the voice of his son, is just so beautiful. I love it. I kind of wish we got a reference to the Punisher show. I would have liked it if he mentioned Billy Russo and that he killed him or something like that, but we can get that later on. Or maybe we're never gonna get it, or maybe we're just gonna get it in the special presentation. But the way that they break down in front of each other, and the fact that Punisher's like, you and your system, alright? Look, Bullseye gets to eat 3 meals a day, and Foggy, he's dead. He's still gone. That doesn't bring him back at all. But he gets to live. He gets life. But Foggy didn't get life. That line, by the way, where Matt is like, he got life. Yeah, what did Foggy get? He didn't get life. But we don't know that yet, okay? Because of that one comic book storyline existing, we don't know that yet. We'll have to wait until the end of the season. I'm still very much locked in. I love the opening of this episode with the niece. I love that stuff. very excited. So then, let me know what you guys thought about episodes 3 and 4 of Daredevil Born Again in the comment section down below. And with that being said, thank you all so very much for watching, and I hope you guys have enjoyed. And if you did, please like button, subscribe if you haven't done so already. Turn notifications, don't forget, check out the Let's Play channel, link in the description and at the end of the video. And I'll see you guys next week for another 2 episodes, but this time it's actually 2 episodes, because episodes 5 and 6 will be released next week on the same day. And then after that, it seems like we're gonna get weekly episodes until we are done. So hopefully I'll be able to get it done next week. Doing 2 of these episodes in one day with the time constraint that I have is a little bit difficult, but I'll try to get it to you guys as fast as possible. So I'll see you guys for that. And also, tomorrow will be my review of Iron Man 3 and spoiler talk as well. So hopefully you'll check that one out as well. Bye!